Hi, this is Steve Siebold, and we're here at the Bone Allen Mansion outside of Atlanta. And I'm here with one of the top leaders in WFG, one of my favorite people, and someone that I consider not only a great present leader in WFG, but the future of WFG, Fradel Barber. Fradel, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, fantastic. And, can you tell us a little bit about your background in WFG and then where you're ranked now in the company, that type of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm an executive vice chairman with the company, although I like to call myself CEO because outside of WFG, people don't know what an EVC is, right? But they all know what a CEO is. So, when I introduce myself to other executives of different companies, sometimes I say CEO. But here in WFG, I'm an executive vice chairman, otherwise known as an EVC. Been in the business for about 14 years. If you asked me 14 years ago if I'd ever be doing this, be making the money I'm making now, having this lifestyle, well, maybe the money, because I always dreamed big, but certainly not in this capacity and in this way. And how I started in the business was very different. I was 20 years old. I grew up the oldest of 12 kids in Brooklyn, New York. And being the oldest of 12.
12?
12.
Wow.
My youngest sister right now is 12.
Wow.
So major, literally every 2 years,
Wow.
another sibling in the family. Well, growing up that way with, parents who gave us everything that they could, but it was never enough, right? And I always dreamed of something bigger, and I always wanted to just get away, right? I wanted to go somewhere. So I said, where's the furthest I can go on my own? And that was California.
Okay.
So I decided to save up a little money, did odd jobs here and there, and I knew that going to California, I needed a car. In New York, you don't really need a car.
Sure.
You get around on the subway. So saved up a little bit of money, and I had the whole thing planned out. I'm a planner, right? So I figured I'm going to plan it out. Everything's going to work out. Had my whole life planned out. I was going to go to California, and I was always very creative. I like design, arts. So I said, let me try to get into school to study fashion design. And so I decided, I'm going to go to California, get a car, go to school out there until I can go to a bigger college. And, that was my plan. So I landed in California. I literally remember this moment of picking up my $3,000 car at LAX. I had someone arranged to put it there for me, and the key was like under the tire, and sitting in my car, driving down the freeway, and I thought I made it. Right? I thought this is what it's all about. But little did I know that they say, man plans and God laughs. Well, I was a pretty big joke because none of my plans worked out. The car was my first car. I didn't know you had to put oil in a used car. So literally within 30 days, I had no car. I had a place to stay, a temporary place, which was temporary. And I thought that after, a month or two, I'd definitely find a job because I had 10 interviews lined up. So I figured one of them's bound to take me.
Right.
Well, I didn't even get a second interview to any of them. So no place to stay, no car, no job. The only thing I did have was college. So I had registered to a community college, one semester fully paid off. And that's the only thing that I had going for me, according to my plan. So I came to a moment where I really had to make a decision. I had to decide, was I going to continue on this path or not? And in my head, it wasn't even an option. I said, I'm here, I'm going for it. So I decided to take any company that would give me an interview. I said, I'm going to go. And that's really how I landed in a WFG office, because I got recruited in a way that is a little different than the norm. Typically in WFG, someone recommends you to look at the company. I actually responded to an ad. And this is going back 14 years where it wasn't the world of social media. So it was actually on Career Builder. But it wasn't a professional ad. It was actually the most corniest, non-grammatical, it was just one line was just, exclamation marks, caps, lock all over the place. But there was two things that really attracted me to what it said. One of them was part-time. So I still had my dream of going to school. So I said, this is part-time, sounds good. And then no experience necessary, because I had none.
Right.
So those were the two things that say, you know what, I'm applying. got the interview, came into the business, and that's kind of how I was introduced and got started. And what turned out to be a part-time job ended up being a life-changing career move for me, and ultimately my business now.
It must have been tough since you didn't have a job and you were doing this full time.
Yeah, it was. I didn't have to go full-time right away, but I actually remember the day that I did. So I was still going to go to school, still going to do this part-time. And after school hadn't started yet, so I was kind of doing it full time, getting the licenses, getting started in the business, really just soaking everything in. And it was about maybe a week or two in, and I loved it. I mean, everything about it, the people, the learning. I had never read so much in my life, and I was a reader. I liked reading. And I was just learning so much. I'm meeting such amazing people and learning so much about money that I never knew even was that you're supposed to learn, right? Because everyone should learn it regardless of what they do.
Sure.
So my thought process started changing. And I remember sitting in a new car, the second one, sitting in traffic because where I was staying was about 2 hours from the school and then another hour in a different direction to my WFG office.
Wow.
So I'm literally sitting in the car for 2 hours. It was 7 o'clock in the morning, my first day of college, fully paid off semester. And, sometimes when you're in traffic, I know there's traffic out here too,
sure.
You just kind of start dreaming and the wheels start turning. And I started thinking, why am I even going to school? And, my other me says, well, you're going to learn something and get an opportunity. I said, but I'm already learning and I already have an opportunity. And before I even got to school, I turned the car around and went to the office. And I never even made it to my first day of school. So wow. I really made a very conscious decision that I'm planting my flag. This is what I'm doing. It's going to work out. And yes, it's going to be tough in the beginning and there's going to be those stumbling blocks, but it's what I'm going to do. And so I really believe it was that decision-making process that, yes, it was difficult. There was, I had a big learning curve, not just because I knew nothing about the financial industry, but my nature is very shy. So I'm actually a very shy person, which when you're in the business of people, shy equals broke, right?
Sure.
So I really had to learn not only the business, but also on a personal level to really grow out of that. But I made that decision and it was no going back.
Wow. How long did it take you to become successful? Say $75,000 a year.
I made 6 figures my first year.
First year?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I did it with a plan. I sat down with the person that was training me, and for me, 6 figures, $100,000 was a lot of money at 21 years old.
Sure.
So I said, that was my dream. I want to make 100,000. Once I knew I wasn't going to school, then it became about, well, what's the life I want to live, right? And so I said $100,000 will give me, at that time in my life, the life I want to live. So I sat down and I put together a plan of exactly what I need to do to make 100,000. And one thing that was very clear is, if someone has a $100,000 job, they're making $8,300 a month, minus the taxes and everything.
Sure.
One thing I understood very clearly was I wasn't making $8,300 a month. The first month I might make 500, and then it would be 1,000, and then it's 2,000, and it's 5 and 10, and it grows compounded. So I had a very deep understanding of how the business process worked and what exactly I needed to do to put the things in, even though in month 1 I might make $500, but the efforts weren't worth $500. They were worth the 30 grand I'm going to make in month 12. And then the 50 grand and so on and so forth. So
sure.
I really had a very clear plan of that. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And the other thing I did was I self-analyzed. So if I were to do something and say I would fail or I wouldn't do it really well, I would always take a step back and say, okay, how did I do it? What did I follow that my coaches were teaching me and what did I not? And maybe how could I have done this better? And then apply it to the next time I did the same action. And that really helped me move along, I wouldn't say much quicker, but just kind of gaining that confidence that it's okay if things don't work out as long as you don't make the same mistake twice.
Sure. Well, why did you pick WFG? I mean, I know you saw the ad, but why WFG when you could have done almost anything?
Well, for me in the beginning, it was money and lifestyle. I never dreamed of being in financial services, never dreamed of, even the types of products. In fact, when I heard what the company was about, there was a term that was used that kind of puzzled me. They said we help people. I didn't understand what that meant, helping people. Because I understood we do financial services, insurance, investments, retirement planning, things of that nature. And then they said we help people. And I didn't understand how those two went together until I started learning really what we do. And the first thing I noticed was that my own family never had this education, right? My dad worked for a corporation for many, many years. He didn't have a retirement plan. He didn't even have life insurance. We had 10 kids living at home at the time.
Wow.
So I realized that this is more than just money. And that's really when it went from my head to my heart, that we help people in a way that's generational, that can really impact lives for generations to come, and the first family being my own. And, I didn't have kids at the time. Now I have 2. But I knew I wanted a family. I wanted to have it, but I didn't want it to be the way I grew up. I wanted them to have freedom, choices, education, and things that I didn't necessarily have. And I knew that would come with money. So it certainly was the financial first. And then once I obtained that, really understanding that this is a much bigger scale. The other thing was being an entrepreneur. I'm so passionate about entrepreneurs and understanding what they have to go through to not only become one, but to stay one. Most entrepreneurs are out of the business in 2 to 3 years, even in WFG, just as a whole in American business.
Sure.
So I just was very passionate about helping entrepreneurs be successful. And the WFG platform gave me that ability to do that, because it wasn't just about me making money. It was about me enabling other people to do the same thing and giving them the same opportunity with a support system and everything that we have. So I wouldn't, like I said, I would never have dreamed of it before, but now I can't even think of anything else.
Well, what's the downside to WFG?
You. Not you per se, but the person doing it. Because we're human, right? And human nature sometimes gets the better of us, in the sense that anything worthwhile demands discipline, persistency, and really sticking to something until it's done. We talk about focus standing for follow one course until successful. It doesn't stand for follow one course if successful, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
that determination and really sticking with something long term, I think is really key and in making someone that way. So that's what it would be.
How do you address the people that go online, especially, that say, well, WFG's a scam?
What's a scam? That literally. Nowadays, especially, I think it was a little different when I first started, back 14 years. So a scam back then was literally like people taking money from other people. And so when I first started, it was pointing to things like licenses, all the credible things that we have to go through as an industry just to do what we do. To say, how is it a scam if I'm I got a license from the federal government via FINRA, or I got a license from my state Department of Insurance. But honestly, nowadays I laugh. I literally laugh in someone's face when they say, this is a scam, or you're kidding, right? I mean, to me, in this day and age of information, anyone that has any, I don't want to call it smarts, but common sense would know what to look at when you're looking at if something is legitimate or not, right? And so our business is if you just look at what's out there, from obviously our partnerships with some of the biggest brands in financial services, to obviously the licenses that we have to get as well, but also the people. You look at the people that are in the business with us, and you say, how could there be that many people making that much money, helping that many families that are all doing a scam? A scam is usually led by one, maybe a small group of people that are benefiting the most, while everyone else gets screwed, right?
Sure.
That's not the structure that we have in place. Our structure just keeps growing in incremental levels to actually the people that are at the lower levels, right? Helping more and more people make six-figure plus incomes, build a business, become entrepreneurs, and really better themselves, that can't be a scam.
How about the people that say, especially again, they go online and say, well, it's MLM, multi-level marketing, network marketing, and it's a pyramid.
Yeah.
It's a pyramid scheme. What do you say to those people?
So, I think it's really getting an understanding of what is our model. We actually have a very unique model. A pyramid scheme, once again, that's illegal. Define what is a pyramid scheme. It's something that is illegal. That cannot exist in what we do. When it comes to the model and the structure of our business, I believe it's a hybrid of three models. The first one being a corporate structure. We do have the backing of our parent company, Aegon. We have our corporate headquarters, World Financial Group, that does have employees, that does have a president, that has all the things that a typical corporation would have, and is run like a corporation. That is our backbone. It's the backing of everything that we do, and it's something that enables us to run as entrepreneurs without some of the struggles that an entrepreneur will go through. You've ever watched Shark Tank, right?
Sure.
I mean, you see people giving away huge percentages of their company just to have that backing. Well, our platform takes that out, right? It allows the entrepreneur to run, to do what they do best without having some of those struggles, things like marketing and support and all that. So that's really where the corporate structure comes in. The other part of it is the network marketing aspect, where we are in the relationship business, we're in the referral business, and we work that way so that we don't have to cold call and do things that typically in our industry is done to be able to get clients. And, but when you look at the structures that are in place right now for many companies, and something that's, I believe, one of the fastest growing is social media. Social media is the biggest network marketing you've ever seen, because you're a friend of a friend of a friend, and how you know people is through other friends. So we really take that aspect but put it into a business level, and are able to have a business where somehow I know you. So it makes it a much friendlier conversation. It makes a much warmer conversation. And quite frankly, who wouldn't want to do business with people that have some connection to you rather than someone who you have absolutely know nothing about? The third aspect is the franchise. The franchise is where, someone will be an entrepreneur, have big responsibilities, but the core structure of their business is already formatted, and specifically a system that's in place to be able to actually run the business. You look at any franchise out there, McDonald's, burgers, they have a system, and it's very, very well noted what their system is, because you go in there and there's sometimes kids running it, right? And
Sure.
yet it's still successful somehow,
Right.
because they have a very formatted system. So I believe our business model is a hybrid of those three models. I don't think there's anything in existence like it that actually takes all those three and successfully puts it together by taking the best of all of them and having it in one. And that's what I believe is ours.
Okay, what about the people that go to a meeting, they go to a BPM, a business presentation meeting, or they go to a training, and they say, well, this is like a cult. This WFG is like a cult. These people, they have sometimes they're wearing the same colors, or they got like their team colors, and they got this chant, and I feel like it's a cult. And then they go online, of course, and they say, WFG is a cult. How do you respond to that?
I think every congregation, every group, everything is a cult, right? When you think, what is a cult? That would be the first thing I would ask. What is a cult? It's a group of people. Now, it's usually typically in the negative format, right?
It's a religious, technically it's a religious sect, extreme religious
Extreme,
sect.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I say, okay, well, we're not a religion, so let's take that out of it. The extreme part is we're extremely focused on business and self-improvement. Do you find something wrong with that? And if they do, I would say, you know what, this is not the cult for you. I mean, because ultimately they're going to be part of a negative cult.
You need to go to another cult. Yeah, it's our cult's not for you.
So everyone's part of some cult. It just depends what it is, and that's how I do it.
Okay. In terms of one of the products, there's been a lot of conjecture about this, criticism about the FIUL, the Index to Universal Life Policy, that you guys really seem to push. People say, well, it's not a good product because the cost of insurance goes up so high when you get older. What do you say to the people that think this is a bad product?
I always like to compare it to a knife. A knife could be a great tool, and it could be deadly, right? And so I think that in financial services, specifically with that product, if you use it wrong, it could be terrible, right? There's ways of setting it up where it's underfunded, where it's on the wrong type of person, it's not appropriate, it's not suitable, but that's a small percentage, right? For a majority of people, for a very good sized group of people, it's actually not only extremely suitable, but can really have tremendous value for them in many areas of their life and at many times in their life. I've had clients who didn't even plan to use it as they used it, in the sense that maybe initially they set it up, the key part, it was set up properly. They set it up maybe initially for retirement, which would have been maybe 30 years down the line. But 8 years down the line, 10 years down the line, they happen to have an opportunity to purchase a property. And they didn't necessarily have the funds to do it with, but they said, you know what, let me access some of that, the money that I have in there, and I'll pay myself back. I'll do a loan to myself, in essence, be my own bank, and able to do that. And they did that. And then they paid it back, because they paid it back with little to no interest. And then as the years go by, they were just back on track to their goal. So again, it's a very, very powerful tool if used the right way.
Is it a product that you own personally?
Absolutely. Not only me, my kids, my whole family. So, yeah.
Okay. And what about the people that say, well, the reason the WFG Associates pushed the FFIUL is because it's a Transamerica product and they're tied to Transamerica?
I don't have only Transamerica IULs. I have other carriers like Pacific Life, Nationwide.
But the FFIUL is just Transamerica, is that
Oh, yeah,
is that right?
that is correct, yeah.
Okay.
There's IULs that are other companies.
That you guys represent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a various type. The FFIUL happens to be one of the top IULs on the marketplace. That's why many people sell that one, if it's the best. We have access to many of them, though.
Well, you know what they say? Some people say, well, it's because the commissions are higher because WFG and Transamerica are connected, so they're pushing FFIUL because the commissions are higher.
Well, if it's the best product, does that matter if you get paid more? So,
right.
Again, who it's the best for is dependent on the client. The way I teach my associates to do it is it's mission before commission. What does that mean? When you're sitting down with a client and you're analyzing their, financial needs analysis, number one is looking at what do they need. So you identify the product. Then you identify the carriers that have that product, who has the best product for that particular client. Sometimes they're almost identical. So then you look at, well, what's going to be the best for my family? So if you have two identical products that do the same thing, that, one you maybe have a relationship with, that you might earn more money, if it's the same thing, then there's no reason not to do that.